Hello friends, this is Hatim Rampurawala, and in this video we will revise SEBI Act 1992. Okay, so our target will be to revise the entire chapter of SEBI in less than an hour. Let's see. Okay, let's start. It will be a quick revision basically, and I will not go into much detailed explanation basically of any of these simple sections. Okay, let's start. Section 3, establishment and the incorporation of the board. SEBI, herein called as board, has been established as a body corporate having a perpetual session and a common seal with a power to acquire, hold and dispose of a property both movable and immovable, then to contract as, also to sue or be sued by the name of any SEBI. HO of the board of the, that is of the SEBI basically, shall be at Mumbai. The board may establish the office at any other places of India. Board may establish the office in other places of India as well. The management of any board, the member of the board, chairman nominated by the Union Government of India, 2 member officer from the Union Ministry, 1 member from the RBI, 5 other members nominated by the Union Government. Out of them, at least 3 shall be whole time member. Section 5, terms of the office and the condition of service of the chairman and the member of the board. Term as appointed by the CG. Point B, termination of the services. CG will have a right to terminate, so CG can terminate their office at any time by giving at any time before the expiry of the tenure by giving a 3-month notice in writing or 3-month salary or the salary and the allowances. Then section 3, resignation, have a right to, that is member or the chairman have a right to relinquish the office at any time before the expiry of their tenure by giving a notice of 3 month in writing to the CG. So they can give the notice to the CG 3 month before, that is 3-month notice of 3 month in writing. Then tenure, chairman and the whole time member may hold the office for the period of 5 years. Over here it is given 3, but it is basically 5. It was earlier 3. 5 years, subjected to maximum age limit of 65 and can be reappointed by the CG. Part-time member may hold the office for the maximum of the 3 years, but there is no age limit as such, because in chairman and whole-time member they are given an age limit of 65. Over here there is no age limit. Over there they can hold the office for they can hold the office for the period of 5 years and can be reappointed. Over here they can hold the office for the maximum of 3 years. Okay. Removal of any member, CG have the power to remove the member or the chairman at any if they had at any time being adjudicated as insolvent, has been declared by the competent or the competent court to be of the unsound mind, has been convicted of the offences involving moral turpitude and has abused his position as to render his continuance in the office detrimental to the public interest. So if these 4 points get if any of the 4 points get attracted, like if he has been adjudicated as insolvent or has been declared by the competent court to be of unsound mind or has been convicted of an offence involving moral turpitude, is in the opinion of the CG that he has convicted of an offence involving moral turpitude, or in the opinion of the CG has abused his position as to render his continuance in the office detrimental to the public interest. Okay. Meetings of the board. Section 7, meeting will be at such a time and place as may be provided. If the chairman not present at the if the chairman not present, any member present at the meeting can preside with the meeting. Then chairman basically also have the what we can say, the casting vote. Whenever there is an equal vote, the chairman have the casting vote. Okay. And if the chairman is not present, any member can preside with the meeting. Okay. Member not to participate in a meeting in certain cases, any member who is a director of any company and who as such director, so means who is a director of the company and who as such director has any indirect pecuniary interest in any of the matter upcoming for the consideration at a meeting. So if they have any interest in the matter upcoming for the consideration, as soon as possible after the relevant circumstances have came to his knowledge, disclose the interest of his disclose nature of his interest. So basically he should disclose the nature of his interest. Then vacancies etc. not to invalidate the proceedings of the board. Section 8, any vacancy in the board shall not invalidate any of the act or the proceedings of the board. Following reasons shall not invalidate any act or the proceedings of the board. Any defect in the constitution of the board, any of the appointment of any person or the member of the board. So if there is any defect in the constitution, or there is any defect in the appointment of any of the person or the member of the board, or any irregularity in the procedure of the board not affecting its merit of the case, or any of the irregularity basically in the procedure of the board not affecting the merits, so this all act will not invalidate the proceedings of the board. Then section 11, powers and the function of the SEBI. In that, first, measures to regulate the security market. First is regulating of any business. So what the SEBI will take measures to regulate the security market. First, regulate the business in the stock exchange, registering and regulating. So what are the work basically? What are the functions work of the SEBI? Regulating of the business or in the stock exchange, then registering and regulating the working of the depositories, participant and other intermediaries, registering and the regulating working of the depository, participants, custodian of the security, foreign institutional investor, credit rating agencies. So basically regulating and registering all depository, participant, custodian, foreign institutional investor and credit rating agencies. All first 3 points are registering, regulating. Fourth point is also registering, regulating. Registering and regulating the work of the venture capital fund, collective investment scheme and including mutual funds. So just remember, regulating the business of the stock exchange, regulating and registering the working of the depository participant, other intermediary, registering and regulating of the working of the depository, custodian of security, foreign institutional investor, credit rating agency, registering and regulating the work of the venture capital fund, collective investment scheme including mutual fund. Okay, now next part is what are their other functions, what are the other works is promoting and regulating the self-regulatory organization. So first, promoting and regulating the self-regulatory organization, prohibiting fraudulent and unfair trade practices relating to any security markets. So this is one of the important, that is prohibiting fraudulent and unfair trade practices relating to the security market. Promoting investor education and training of the intermediary of the security market. Prohibiting insider trading, this is also important, prohibiting insider trading in the security. Regulating substantial acquisition of the shares and takeover. So whenever there is any violation in this now means if there is any fraudulent activity or if there is any insider trading, so there is a penalty which will be covered under section 15. Under section 15, not 15 means 15A, B, C, D are all penalties basically in SEBI. Then what are the other functions? Prohibition insider trading in the security, regulating the substantial acquisition of any and the takeover of the companies, calling for info from the, now all points will be in relation to calling of any information, from undertaking inspection, conducting inquiries and audit of the stock exchange, mutual fund, calling of the information and the records from any of the person. So means calling of information from any person or undertaking inspection, conducting inquiry and audit of the SEBI, calling information from and furnishing information to any other authority, whether in India or outside India, having the function similar to those of the board, performing such other function and exercising the power under the provision of the SECRA. Then what is the basically other functions, like performing such other functions and exercising such other powers under the provision of the SECRA. Then SEBI can levy the fees and other charges as well, conducting the research for the above purposes, for all other above purposes, that is for registering, regulating business and all. Then promoting, prohibiting various fraudulent activity, unfair trade practice, promoting investor education and training of intermediary in the security market, prohibiting insider trading. In relation to all, it can conduct research for the above purposes as well, calling from or furnishing to any such agencies such info as may be considered necessary by it for the efficient discharge of its function, or calling for such information from such an agency as may be considered for efficient discharge of its function. So these were basically the functions can't say much important, but yeah, just read it once. Then power with respect to the inspection of any books and the documents. The board may take the measures to undertake the inspection of any books, register and other documents of or the records. So board will take measures to, basically they will inspect the books registered, all the books registered of any intermediary or any person dealing in the security market. So board will inspect the books registered and other documents. Second point, where the board has reasonable ground to believe that such a company has not such a company has been indulged in the insider trading or fraudulent or unfair trade practices relating to security market, so they will inspect. So when they will inspect, if the board has reasonable ground to believe that such a company is indulged in fraudulent, so if they have reasonable what we can say ground to believe, so they will inspect the books and other documents, register and records. Okay. Then next is, board are vested with some power as that of the civil court. So board, that is SEBI, is vested with the powers of the civil court. First, inspection of any books, register and other documents. So these are the power of civil court: inspection of any books, documents and other registered and documents. Then register, discovery and production of the books of accounts, issuing commission for the commission and witnesses, issuing commission, summoning and enforcing of any attendance and in person examining them on. Also these powers are there with board as well. Additional function of the SEBI, additional function. So first we studied the functions, then power in relation to that they have power as that of this what we can say civil court. Then they have power in respect to inspection of any books if they have reasonable ground to believe that the company has been indulged in insider trading, fraudulent or unfair trade practices. Then additional function of any board under SECRA, first is power to call for the periodical returns or direct inquiry to be made. So they can call for periodical returns, okay, and direct the inquiry as well. So they can direct that the inquiry can be conducted. Then power to approve the bylaws of the stock exchange. So SEBI approves the bylaws, they call for the periodical returns, they can conduct, they can direct inquiries to be made, then they can approve, then they have the power to approve the bylaws of the stock exchange. So before the stock exchange get registered, they submit the bylaws basically to the SEBI for its approval. So they have the power to approve the bylaws. Then power of the SEBI to make the amendments, to make or amend. So they can make or as well as they can amend the bylaws of the recognized stock exchange. Section 10 of SECRA, licensing of the dealer in the security. So they have the power of licensing as well in the security in certain areas. Section 17 of SECRA. And a public issue and listing of the security referred to in section 2 HIE of SECRA. Power to delegate function. Okay, so we'll again revise the additional powers of the SEBI. First, they have the power to call for periodical returns and direct the inquiries to be made, approve the bylaws, then make and amend the bylaws, then licensing, then public issue and listing of the securities, and power to delegate listing of the dealers. Basically they list the dealers, that is brokers, dealers in the security in certain areas. They list the dealers. Then power to delegate, then power of public issue and listing of any security. Okay, then next is passing of an order by an board may in the interest of the investor or the security market take any of the following measures. So board may either in the interest of the investor or the security market may take any of the following measures, either pending investigation or inquiry or on completion of such investigation or the inquiry, namely. So whether the pending investigation would be or inquiry is pending or it has been completed, it can take the following measures in the interest of the investor in the security market. What all are the functions, what all are the basically what you can say measures? Okay, suspend the trading of any security in the so they can suspend the trading of any security in the recognized stock exchange, prohibit any person associated with the security market to buy, sell, deal in a security. So prohibit any person associated in security market. Then suspend office bearer. Then then they can suspend self-regulatory organization. It is not given over here, but it is a part of point C as well, point C only, that they can suspend office bearer or self-regulatory organization from holding such position, self-regulatory organization as well, then impound the proceeds in the security in respect of any impound proceeds in, they can impound and retain the proceeds of the security in respect of any transaction which is in which is under investigation. Then this E point is basically not amended. I will read the amended point, so just note it. Attach for not exceeding, see what it is, attached for not exceeding 90 days bank account or other property of any of the intermediary or any person associated with the security market in any manner involved in the violation of this act. So they can attach for period not exceeding 90 days. Over here just don't see this E point which is appearing on the screen because it is not amended. Attach for not exceeding 90 days bank account or any property or any intermediary or such persons associated with the security market in any manner involved in the violation of these act or the rules or regulation. Only the property, bank account or any transaction entered into herein which relates to the proceed actually involved in violation. Wait a second. Is basically the amended point. Attach E point, attach for not exceeding 90 days 90 days bank account or any property for property of any of the intermediary or such other person associated with the security market in such a manner involved in the violation of the act or the rules. See, okay, who is involved in the violation, so attach for period not exceeding 90 days bank account or any such property. Then only the property in bracket the given, only property or the bank account or the transaction entered into which relates to the proceed actually involved in the violation are allowed to be attached. So which are actually involved in the violation, that should be attached. Board needs to obtain the confirmation from the special court within the period of 90 days for the attachment to continue during the pendency of any proceeding. So for continuing for period exceeding 90 days to be continued for during the pendency, the board needs the confirmation of the special court. Okay. Okay, so we'll continue with F point. Direct any such intermediary or any other person associated with the security market not to dispose of or alienate any asset forming part of any transaction which is under the investigation. So these all are the measures taken by the board to protect the interests of the investor and security market. Then we will continue with section 11a. So that was so the one which we did was the function, that is section 11. Then 11a, board to regulate and prohibit, board to regulate issue of any prospectus, offer document or advertisement soliciting money for issue of any security. Specify by regulation the matters relating to the issue of capital, transfer of any security and other matter incidental thereto, and they also specify the manner in which such matter to be disclosed. Then B point, by general or by special order prohibit any company from issuing any prospectus or any offer document or advertisement soliciting money from the public or the security, or specify the condition. So first point they are given that in B, first, prohibit from issue of any prospectus or offer document, and in second they are given that specify the conditions subject to which prospectus such other offer documents or advertisement which is not prohibited may be issued. Then power to issue directions, section 11b. SEBI has the power to issue direction in the interest of the investor or orderly development of the security market. So interest of the investor, then to prevent the affairs of any intermediary in the manner detrimental to the interest of the investor or security, and to secure proper management. So for these three purposes they can issue directions. And any scheme, section 11AA, collective investment scheme. So requisite conditions are: first, contribution or the payment made by the investor are pooled and utilized for the purpose of the scheme or the arrangement. Such a contribution or the payment are made with a view to receive the profit, income and produce or the property. property or the contribution of any investment forming part of any schemes or the arrangement, whether they are identifiable or not, is managed on behalf of the investor, then investor do not have day-to-day control over the management and the operations of the scheme. Then exceptions that who will not be said as a collective investment scheme: cooperative society registered or society registered or deemed to be registered, deposit accepted by the NBFC, then deposit accepted under the Companies Act 2013, then scheme providing for any scheme such as pension scheme, insurance scheme, contract of insurance which is regulated by to which the Insurance Act applies, then deposit accepted under 58A of 1956. Basically it will be now as per 2013 Companies Act 2013, and deposit accepted by the Nidhi and Mutual Benefit Society, then falling within the meaning of chit fund, within the meaning of chit business, contribution made in the mutual fund, and okay, and it is also that other pooling of any fund under any scheme or the arrangement which is not registered with the board. So any of the scheme or the arrangement which is not registered with the board and involving a corpus of 100 crore rupees or more shall be deemed to be the collective investment scheme. So that will also be considered. So any scheme or the arrangement which is not registered by the board and involving a corpus of 100 crore rupees or more shall be deemed to be the collective investment scheme. Then 11C, section 11C, it is in relation to investigation. Okay, so ground for the issue of any of the order of investigation. So what are the ground, what is the ground basically for issue of investigation? Transaction in a security are being dealt with in a manner detrimental to the interest of the investor or detrimental to the interest or the security market. Any intermediary or any person associated with the security market has violated any of the provisions, so violated any of the provisions of this act or detrimental to the interest of any security market, so there can be an investigation. It is the ground for investigation. Then furnishing of any relevant documents to the investigating authority. Every manager, managing director, officer and employee of the company and every person associated with the security market to preserve and to produce to the investigating officer or any other person associated in this behalf all the relevant books of accounts, documents, records, etc., which are required by the investigating authority. Then power of the period of custody. The investigating authority may keep in its custody the books of accounts registered produced for the period of 6 months, and thereafter shall return the same to any intermediary or any other person associated with the security market. And they can when they need the books or the documents registered again, they can call for it again. So investigating authority may call for any of the books, register other documents and the records if they are needed again. Then examination on the oath. Any person directed to make any investigation may examine on oath any manager, managing director or other employee associated with the security market. See, okay, so now on failure. If any person fails without reasonable cause or without reasonable cause, if they fail or refuses to produce any books of accounts or furnish any information or appear before the investigating authority personally, or to answer the question put before him, or sign the notes, or shall be punishable with an imprisonment which may extended up to 1 year, or fine which may be extended to 1 crore, or with both. So imprisonment of 1 year, or with fine of 1 crore, or with both, and also with a further fine which may extend to 5 lakh rupees for every day after first, during which the failure they shall be also be liable to a fine which may extend to 5 lakh rupees for every day after the first, during which the failure or refusal continues. Then note of examination to be used as examination. Note of an examination shall be taken down in writing and shall be read over to or by signed by a person examined. So what they have given is, that is, notes of any examination shall be taken down in writing and shall be read over by to or by signed by a person examined, and may thereafter be used in the evidence against him. So the note which is written by that person can or signed by such a person can be used and signed by such a person can be used as an evidence against him. Impounding of any documents, investigating authority has the reasonable ground to believe that the books may be destroyed. If the investigating authority has the reasonable ground to believe that the books may be destroyed, altered, if the books may be destroyed, mutilated, altered, falsified or secreted, then the investigating authority may make an application to the magistrate or the judge of such a designate court in Mumbai as may be notified by the CG for such an order for the seizure of such a books, registered and other documents and records. So if they have reasons to believe that the books may be destroyed, mutilated, altered, falsified, secreted, then they can make an application to the magistrate or the judge of designated court in Mumbai as may be notified for the seizure of such books, registered and other documents and records. Fourth, demand of any service, demand of the service of other offices, demand of service of other officer, authorized officer may requisition the services of any police officer or any other officer. So basically the investigating authority can ask for the basically service of any of the police officer or any of the officer or both to assist him for all assist him with for all with respect to the impounding of any documents. So for impounding of any documents they can take take the help or they can take the assistance of any police order of the court to enter. So what they are given is that obtain the order of the designated court in Mumbai. So they have to obtain the order of the designated court in Mumbai for to enter with such assistance as may be required where such books of accounts are kept. Where such books of accounts are kept, they can enter such place, then to search that place for those to search that place or those places in manner specified in the order, to seize the books it consider necessary for the purpose of investigation. So what all books they consider necessary, they can seize the books as well. Then impounding documents will remain with the will remain in the custody of the investigating authority. Investigating authority shall keep in its custody books seized under this section for such a period not later than the conclusion of the investigation as it consider necessary. So they can keep in their custody for such a period not for such a period not later than conclusion of an investigation as it consider, and thereafter shall return the same to the company and inform the magistrate or the judge, and thereafter shall return the same to the company and inform the magistrate or the judge of the designated court of such a return. So they can hold it till completion of investigation. After the completion they can return, they have to return, they shall return basically to the company and shall inform to the magistrate and the designated court also of such return. They shall inform to the magistrate and designated court, see magistrate or the judge of the designated court. Then section 11D, seized and desist proceedings. If the board find after causing an inquiry to be made that any of the person has violated, if the board finds that any of the person has violated or is likely to violate any of the provision of these act, it may pass an order requiring such a person. So if they find that a person has violated or is likely to violate then any provision of these act, it may pass an order requiring such a person to cease or desist from committing or causing such a violation. B, provided the board shall not pass such order unless the board has the reasonable ground to believe that the company has indulged in the insider trading or market manipulations. Okay, insider trading and market manipulation. Now as we have seen that not allowed in the in section 11C and 11D, there is one point that this in 11C it is that they cannot enter the place, search and seize the books accounts. It will not be allowed basically for the listed company or the company which are intending to be listed, except the intermediaries, unless they are indulge in the insider trading or market manipulation. And the same point is for section 11D as well, that cease and desist order will not be allowed for the listed and intended to be listed companies except intermediaries, unless they are indulged in the insider trading and market manipulations. Okay, Now we'll continue with section 12, registration certificate. Provisions related to person who are authorized to buy, sell, deal in a security. Board may by notification specify the person who shall buy, sell, deal in a security. So it is basically for the person who are authorized to buy, sell, deal in a security, and board may by notification specify the person who shall buy, sell, deal in a security. Person who shall sponsor or cause to be sponsored or carry on or cause to be carry on any venture capital fund or collective investment scheme including mutual fund deal in a security. Or the board may notify the person board may by notification specify the person who shall buy, sell, deal in a security. Person who shall sponsor or cause to be sponsored on or cost to be carried on any of the venture capital fund, collective investment scheme including mutual funds. So it is relating to the persons, these persons basically. Then manner of application for the registration. Every application for the registration shall be made in such a manner and on payment of such a fee as may be determined by the regulation. And suspension, cancellation of the certificate of registration. The board may by order suspend or cancel the certificate of registration as may be determined by the regulation, provided that no such order under this subsection shall be made unless a person has been given a reasonable opportunity of being heard. Okay. Section 12A, it is in relation to the prohibition, and this is very important answer from the exam point of view. Prohibition, they can straightforward ask this question. Prohibition of manipulative and defective devices, insider trading or substantial acquisition of the security, or control. So okay, so no person shall directly or indirectly use or employ in connection with any issue, purchase or sale of any security, employ any device or the scheme or artifice to defraud in connection with any issue or dealing in security, engage in any of the act or the practices course of a business which operate as a fraud in connection with an issue. So basically they will not employ in connection with any issue, purchase or the sale of any of the security. They should not employ, no person should directly or indirectly employ any device or the scheme, artifice to defraud in connection with an issue dealing in a security, shall not engage in any of the act or the practices, course of any business which operate as a fraud in connection with an issue, engage in an insider trading. They should not engage in insider trading as well. They should not deal in any security while in possession of any material or non-public information, or communicate such an information to any other person in the manner which is in contravention of the provisions of these act, and acquire control of any of the security for more than a percentage of the equity share capital of the company, more than specified percentage of equity share capital of the company. They should not acquire the control. So this 6 point, a person should not indulge directly or indirectly. Basically they should not indulge directly or indirectly for the issue. That is, we will go through again this section. There is no person shall directly or indirectly use or employ in connection with an issue, purchase or sale of any of the security, or employ any device or the scheme, artifice to defraud in connection with any issue or dealing in a security, engage in any act or practices or any course of business which operate as a fraud in connection with an issue, engage in an insider trading or deal in any security while in possession of any material or public information, acquire control of any of the company or security more than a prescribed percentage of an equity. Section 13, grant by the central government. The CG may, after apportionment made by the parliament by law in this behalf, make to the board grant of such a sum of such a money as that the government may think fit. Okay, so grant by the CG. So basically the CG can make the grant, give the grant to the SEBI. That's what they are given, that the CG may, after appropriation made by the parliament by law in this behalf, make to the board grant of such a sum of money as that the government may think fit. Then section 14, funds to be called as SEBI general fund, and there shall be credited thereto, it shall be credited means that fund account will be credited by the grants, fees and the charges received by the board, some received from any other sources as may be decided upon, and the fund shall be applied for the meeting of, and now the application of the fund shall be applied for the meeting of the salary, allowances and other remunerations, expenses of the boards. So they will receive from the grant, fees, charges, penalties, fees, charges received by the boards, any of the another from any some other sources as may be decided by the CG, and the funds will be applied for the salary, allowances and other remuneration, expenses of the board in discharge of its function under section 11, expenses of the board in discharge of section function of section 11, and expenses on the objective. Section 15, accounts and audits, preparation of the annual accounts of the statement of the board in consultation with the CAG. So SEBI will prepare basically the annual accounts of the boards. They will prepare the annual account in consultation with the CAG. Then they are required to get their accounts audited, audit of the accounts of the board, and certified copy and the audit report to be forwarded to the central government. So they have to prepare the annual accounts of the board in consultation with the CAG, audit of the accounts of the board, and certified accounts and the audit certified accounts, that is account which have been certified, and the audit report to be forwarded to the central government, and penalties and adjudication. Okay, we are not discussing penalty in this revision lecture, all 15 penalties. So we'll continue with 15I, power to adjudicating officer. Board shall appoint an officer not below the rank of divisional chief to be an adjudicating officer. So first of all, board, that is SEBI, will appoint the adjudicating officer for adjudication purpose. They will appoint the adjudicating officer. Then power of adjudicating officer, what power the adjudicating officer have, which has been appointed by the board, that is to summon and enforce the attendance of any person acquainted with the fact and the circumstances of the case, to give evidence or to produce any documents which in the opinion of the adjudicating officer may be useful for or relevant to the subject matter of the inquiry, which are relevant to the subject matter of the inquiry. Then if on such an inquiry, if he is satisfied that the person has failed to comply with the provision, so first what they will do, if they have the reasons to believe or grounds to believe that any person has failed to comply with any provision, then they can summon or enforce the attendance of a person acquainted with the fact and the circumstances of the case, to give the evidence or to produce the accounts of the documents which in the opinion of the adjudicating officer may be useful for or relevant to the subject matter of the inquiry. If on such an inquiry if the board is satisfied that the person has failed to comply with the provisions of if the person has failed to comply with the provision or provisions of, he may impose such penalty as he may think fit. That is, the board, if it thinks that person has failed to comply with, they can impose the penalty on them. Then order passed by the adjudicating officer is not justified. If the board has appointed the adjudicating officer has levied the penalty if any of the person has not complied with the provision. Now if the board is not satisfied with the order of the adjudicating officer, see what they have given is that the board may call for and examine the records of any of the proceedings, and if it consider that the order passed by the adjudicating authority, so first they will call for and examine the records of any of the proceedings, and if it consider that the order passed by the adjudicating officer is erroneous or is not in the interest of any security market, it may, after making such an inquiry as it may deem necessary, pass such an order enhancing the quantum of the penalty. So if it thinks that the order passed is erroneous, then it can make such an inquiry as it may deem fit and pass such an order, enhancing increasing the quantum of the penalty. Point B, provided that the person concerned has been given an opportunity of being heard in the matter, and the limitation period provided further that the nothing contained in this subsection shall be applicable after the expiry of the 3 years from the date of the order passed by the AO or disposal under section 15T, whichever is earlier. Okay, now the AO has passed the order. The revision, that is the order, basically if the SEBI is not satisfied, so they can, what they have given in first point is they can revise the, or they can enhance the penalty, but now this should be done within the 3 month or the disposal of the disposal under section 15T. 15T is basically in relation to appeal to SET. So before that 15T, disposal of an order by the SET, or within the period of 3 months from the date of an order passed by the adjudicating officer, the SEBI should take action basically. So what is the time period within which the SEBI should revise the order? That is, provided further nothing contained in this subsection shall applicable after the expiry of the 3 months from the date of an order or the disposal of 15T, whichever is earlier. Then factors to be taken into account by the AO: amount of disappropriate gain or the unfair advantage, then amount of any loss caused to the investor. So amount of disappropriate gain or the unfair advantage wherever quantifiable made as a result of the default. So what is the amount of gain that other person has made, or the loss incurred to the investor or the group of an investor as a result of any default. So as a result of default, what the loss has been suffered by the, or loss caused to the investor, the disappropriate gain or unfair advantage that the other person has made, or repetitive nature of default. Based on these factors, the action to be factors to be considered while passing of any order of any penalty or any of the order by the adjudicating authority. So these all factors should be considered, that is disappropriate gain or the unfair advantage wherever quantifiable shall be made as a result of default, loss caused to the investor or the group of investor as a result of any default, and repetitive nature of the default. Then crediting of the sum realized by way of any penalty to the Consolidated Fund of India. Any sum realized by way of any penalty under these acts shall be credited to the Consolidated Fund of India. So any of the fund which has been sum realized by way of any penalties under section 15, all 15 section basically, shall be credited to the Consolidated Fund of India. Settlement of any administrative and the civil proceedings, section 15 JB. Filing of any application, board may consider, first we have to file the application, then board may consider for the settlement of any default mode. They will consider the mode of the settlement proceedings, and there should be no, means against this settlement no appeal will be preferred. Of the Security Appellate Tribunal, section 15K. CG shall establish a tribunal to be known as, SAT will be established by the CG to exercise the jurisdiction power and the authority conferred to it on under these act. Composition of the SAT shall consist of any presiding officer, number of the judicial member and the technical member as the CG may determine. Qualification for the appointment of any presiding officer or the member of the SAT, section 15M. What is the qualification? What will be the qualification? Basically, is or has been a judge of any Supreme Court or the Chief Justice of High Court or the judge of the High Court for at least 7 years in case of any presiding officer. Is or has been a judge of the High Court for at least 5 years in case of any judicial member. Is or in case of any technical member, is or has been a secretary or the additional secretary of the Ministry of the Department of the CG, Ministry, basically secretary or additional secretary of the Ministry of the in the Ministry or the Department of the CG or SG, and he should also be a person of proven ability, integrity, standing, having special knowledge and professional experience of not less than 15 years in any of the financial sector, including security market, pension fund, commodity derivatives and insurance. So just remember this thing, that he should be a person of proven ability, integrity, standing, having special knowledge and professional experience of not less than 15 years in finance, including security market, pension fund, commodity derivatives and or insurance. Then section 15 MA, appointment of any judicial member. The one judicial member we have seen over here, that there should be number of judicial member and number of the technical member as may be prescribed. So appointment of any judicial member, presiding officer and the judicial member of the set shall be appointed by the CG in consultation of the Chief Justice of India or his nominee. Appointment of any technical member for section 15 MB, a technical member shall be appointed by the CG on the recommendation of the search cum selection committee. Validity of the appointment of the presiding officer and the member of the SAT. No appointment of any presiding officer, a judicial member or a technical member shall be invalid merely by reasons of any of the vacancy or so it will not be termed as invalid merely by the reasons of any of the vacancy or any of the defect in the constitution of the search cum selection committee, defect in constitution of the search cum selection committee. Then in case of disqualification, that is disqualification of any member, a member or a part-time member shall not be appointed as a presiding officer. So if that person is disqualified, it will not it will not be appointed as the presiding officer or the member of the SAT. So it will not be appointed as a presiding officer or the member of an SAT during his service. So if he is disqualified, so he will not be allowed to continue basically during his service or tenure as such with the board or with such authority as may be as the case may be, or within 2 years from the date on which he ceases to hold the office as such in the board, or when the term expires. So within the period of 2 years, so that will be basically a cooling off period, 2 years from the date on which he ceases to hold the office in such a board as such in the board. Effect of the holding of any office by the officer or the member on the commencement of the Finance Act. Okay, this is not relevant. Then section 15N, tenure of the office of the presiding officer. Just remember, they can be they hold the office for 5 years. They can be reappointed for the maximum period of 5 years, and a presiding officer and other member may hold the office they cannot hold the office after they attain the age of 70 years. Okay, we will read. Presiding officer or the other members of the set. So other members means technical or judicial or technical, both will come over here, of the set may hold the office for the period of 5 years from the date, and shall be eligible for the reappointment for the another term of 5 years. So once they appoint for 5 years, then another term of 5 years they can be appointed, maximum for 70 years. And in this what they have given is that the validity of the appointment, that disqualified member in disqualification of any member, that within 2 years a member or the part-time member shall not be appointed as a presiding officer or member during the service of any during the service or tenure as such with the board or with such an authority as the case may be, within 2 years from the date on which he ceases to hold the office as such of the board. Okay, so from the date he ceased the office ceased to hold the office as the board, from that date he cannot be appointed for 2 years. But over here it is, what is the period of appointment? So they are appointed for the period of 5 years, can be extended for another term of 5 years, reappointed for the another term of 5 years, and provided that no presiding officer or the member shall hold the office after he attained the age of 70 years. Salary and the allowances and other terms and condition of any service of the presiding officer, section 15O, salary and the allowances payable to the presiding officer and other member of the set shall be as such as may be prescribed. So they have not given specifically a salary amount basically. So it is given that salary and the allowance payable to the presiding officer or the member. This all we are discussing of set, not of SEBI, not of member of the SEBI, not of adjudicating authority, but this whole thing from over here, that is 15K, we are discussing in relation to set, that is what will be the salary of set, not of the member of the board or what is the adjudicating authority, that we had already discussed. Salary of the allowance of the presiding officer or the other member of the set shall be as such as may be prescribed. Filing of any vacancies, filing up of the vacancies, CG shall appoint another person CG shall appoint any another person to fill the vacancy. So if there is any vacancy, CG will appoint the another, because the members of the set and all are appointed basically by the CG only. So appointed by the CG only. So another person, if there is a vacancy also, it will be filled by the CG. Proceedings may be continued before the set from the stage at which such vacancy is filled. So from the date on which it is filled, proceedings will be continued from that stage only, from that stage itself. Then resignation and the removal. Resignation by the notice in writing. Presiding officer shall, unless he is permitted by the CG to relinquish the office. So unless the presiding officer is permitted by the CG to relinquish his office, he will have to continue to hold the office until the expiry of 3 years from the date on which such a receipt of any 3 years from the date of receipt of such notice, or until the person duly appointed as a successor upon his office, or until the expiry of his term of any office, whichever is earliest. So he has to continue, unless he has been permitted by the CG, he has to continue till the expiry of the 3 years from the date of the notice, or the successor is appointed, or the date until a person is duly appointed as his successor enters upon his office, or until the expiry of his term of the office, whichever is earlier. So he have to continue till this period, until expiry of 3 years, until the successor has been appointed, or the expiry of his terms of the office. Then removal of any presiding officer, judicial member or technical member. Okay, now there are 5 grounds on which the presiding officer, judicial member or the technical member can be removed. Over here they have given only 4 points are mentioned, but I will speak out the 5th point as well. Okay, so what it is, first is that if the presiding officer or the members has become physically or mentally incapable, or if the presiding officer or the member is adjudicated as insolvent, is convicted of an offence. Third, is convicted of an offence which in the opinion of the CG involves moral turpitude. Fourth point, in the opinion of the CG, the person, that is presiding officer or the member, has abused his position as to render his continuance in the office detrimental to the public interest. This should be done. This removal basically can be done after giving an opportunity of being heard. This 4th point. And just listen the 5th point as well. Has acquired any financial or other interest which is likely to affect prejudicially his function. So what I have said is that that person, that is presiding officer or the member, has acquired such a financial or the other interest which is likely to affect prejudicially his function. So if he has acquire any of the financial or other interest which will affect prejudicially his function, and so he can be removed, but only after giving an opportunity of being heard. So what all 5 points we have studied, that physically or mentally has become physically or mentally incapable, is or has at any time being adjudicated as insolvent, is in the opinion of the CG, has been convicted of an offence involving moral turpitude, is in the opinion of the CG, has abused his position detrimental to the public interest after giving an opportunity of being heard. And 5th, has acquired any financial or any other interest which is likely to affect prejudicially his position, which is likely to affect prejudicially his function after giving an opportunity of being heard. And the C point, that is CG authorizes to regulate the procedure of the investigation. Okay, CG basically regulates how the procedure for the investigation should be done, regulates the procedure of investigation. Order constituting the appeal tribunal to be final and not to invalidate its proceedings. Wait a second. Continue. Order constituting the appellate tribunal to be final, and so the order of the appellate tribunal to be final and not to invalidate its proceedings. Section 15R. No order of any CG appointing any person as a presiding officer or the member of any set shall be called in question in any manner on the ground merely of any of the defect in the constitution. So it is very simple point, that in case of any defect in the constitution, it will not be said no order of any CG appointing any person as a presiding officer or any member shall be called in question in case of any manner or in any manner or on any ground merely of the merely of any defect in the merely of any defect in the constitution, merely of any defect in the constitution of any set, then see SEBI I think is a simplest chapter then SECRA. SEBI is simple than SECRA. Okay, this okay, we'll continue. I just said like that only. Okay, because in this the provision we don't have to mug up. Basically we have to just remember the provision, and in SECRA it is like we have to remember, basically we have to mug up basically in that the rules, the bylaws, but all have their views. Okay, so we'll continue. Section 15 is staff of the SAT. CG shall provide the staff with such an officer and the employee as the government may think fit. CG may provide staff set provide nahi, okay, CG shall provide set with such an officer and the employee as the government may think fit. Officer and the employee of the set shall be means basically for the working, for the exercise of any function, the officers, the staff member will be provided to the set by the CG. Then officer and the employee of the set shall discharge their function under the general superintendence of the presiding officer. So under the general superintendence of presiding officer, they should discharge their function, and salary allowance of any officer of the set shall be as such as may be prescribed. Then appeal to set, section 15T. Appeal shall be filed within the period of 45 days from the date of which the copy of any order made by the board, AO, IRDA, as the case may be, it shall be in such a form and be accompanied by such a fees as may be prescribed, then on receipt of such an appeal, SAT shall SAT may, after giving so within 45 days they should make an appeal. On receipt of such an appeal, SAT may, after giving an opportunity of being heard, pass such an order as it may think fit, confirming, modifying, or setting aside order appeal against. Then SAT shall send the copy of every order made to it by the board as the case may be. SAT shall send a copy of board. So they have passed the order. SAT has passed his order. Then its order. Then SAT shall send a copy of every order made by it to the board, that is to the SEBI, as the case may be, to the parties to the appeal and to the concerned AO. So that means basically he should send the copy to the board, to the parties concerned to the appeal, and to the concerned AO. Appeal shall be filed before the SAT. Appeal filed before the SAT shall be dealt within 6 months from the date of the receipt of an appeal. The appeal which is filed by the SAT, the appeal which we have filed, that is to the SAT before the SAT, shall be dealt within the period of 6 months from the date of the receipt of an appeal. Okay, then it is. So basically in summary, if we discuss, then within 45 days we have to make an application. After giving a reasonable opportunity of being heard, they will pass an order confirming, modifying, setting aside the order appeal against, and they should send the copy to the board, parties to the appeal, and concerned AO, and shall dispose the order within period of 6 months from the date of receipt of such an appeal. Means they should dispose of the appeal within 6 months from the date of receipt of an appeal. Procedure and the power of SAT. Section 15U, powers. This all powers basically are similar to what we can say of civil code, that is summoning and enforcing the attendance of any of the person, examining him on oath, requiring discovery and the production of any documents, receiving attendance on the affidavit, issuing commission for the examination of any evidence on all documents, receiving its decision, dismissing an application for the default or deciding its ex parte, setting aside any order of dismissal setting aside any of the order of dismissal of any of the application for. They can set aside, basically setting aside any of the order of dismissal of any application for default or any of the order passed by its ex parte. Then on application of any of the parties, and after the notice to the party, after hearing on them, on or on his own motion without such a notice, presiding officer of the set may transfer as the case any of the case pending before one bench for the disposal to another bench. So they can presiding officer of the set may transfer basically on his own motion after hearing of see what they have given is on an application of any party. So either on the application of any party and after the notice to the party and after hearing to them. So on application of any party and after hearing to them, or on his either on application or on his own motion without such notice, presiding officer of the set, that is what the presiding officer can do. Presiding officer of the set may transfer the case pending before one bench for disposal to another bench. From one bench to another bench they can transfer. Then if the bench of any set consisting of any two members differ in the opinion as the point, they shall state the point and the points or other points on which they differ to the presiding officer, and such a point or the point shall be decided according to the opinion of the majority of any member of the set who have heard the case, including those who have first heard it. Then right to the legal representation. Appellant may either appear in person or authorize one or more of the CS, CMA. So either the appellant can appear in person or can authorize the CS, CMA or any legal representative as the case may be, or the case before the set. So either he can appear or he can authorize any of these that is CS, CMS to appear to act as a legal representative, to appear before set, basically to appear before set. Then limitations 15W, provision of the Limitation Act 1963 shall apply to an appeal made to the set. Presiding officer member and the staff of the set to be the public servant. So basically the presiding officer and the member, that is judicial and the technical member, and the staffs of the set will all be said to be as a public servant. Then civil court not to have the jurisdiction. Civil court will not have basically the jurisdiction. No civil court shall have the jurisdiction to entertain any suit or the proceedings in respect of any matter to determine, and no injunction shall be granted. So basically no civil court will have the jurisdiction to entertain any suits or the proceedings in respect of any matter, and no injunction shall be granted by any of the court in respect of any action taken in pursuant of any of the power conferred. See what they have given is, and no injunction shall be granted by any court in respect of any action taken in pursuant of any of the power conferred by or under these acts. So basically civil court will not interfere in any of the matter. Then appeal to the Supreme Court, section 15Z. Any of the person aggrieved by any of the decision of any set may file an appeal to the Supreme Court within 60 days from the date of any communication of any decision. So after the communication of any decision of the SAT, if the person is aggrieved, they can file an appeal to the Supreme Court within 60 days, and it can also be further extended by further 60 days. That's what they have given is 60 days from the date of the communication of any decision or order of the set to him. Okay. Then it is already 1 hour 2 minutes. My target was to complete this in what we can say less than an hour. There are 6 pages, so we had completed with 4 pages basically. Okay, it is there. It is not an issue. We'll complete the other 2 pages as well. Okay, section 16, power of the CG to issue the direction. Board shall in exercise of its power and exercise of the power or the performance of its function be bound by such directions as the CG may give in writing to it from time to time. So basically the CG, so board will have to perform the functions as per the directions given by the CG. So what they have given is section 16, power of CG to issue direction and the board have to follow. That is, the board shall in exercise of its power or the performance of its function be bound by such a direction. It will be bound by such a direction of the CG. May give in writing to it from time to time. Then power of the CG to supersede the board, section 17, CG may supersede the board, means CG, what the CG can do, can supersede the board basically on account of any of the grave emergency. Board is unable to, if on account of any grave emergency board is unable to discharge its function or duties, board has persistently made any default in complying with any of the directions. So on account of grave emergency, or board has basically has persistently made a default in complying with any of the directions issued by the CG, or default in discharge of any functions or the duties. So basically there are three defaults, not three defaults. First point is that on account of grave emergency, board is unable to discharge its function. So over here also the board fails basically to discharge its function. The C point also they have given is the board, that is, there is any default in discharge of any functions or the duties. And in B point they have given is that board has persistently made the default in complying with any of the directions. See over here in section 16 what they have given is that board have to comply with the direction, and if the board persistently made default in complying with any of the direction issued by the CG, or fails to discharge their functions and the duties, or on account of grave emergency board is unable to discharge its functions. So or fourth point is that circumstances exist which render it necessary to do in public interest. So or if the central government feels that it is necessary to do in the public interest, they can basically the CG can supersede the governing body of the board. They can supersede the board. Then the effect of the publication of any notice on publication of the effect of the publication of notification of superseding of the board, all the members. So after the issue of the official notification in the official gazette of the superseding of any board, all the members shall, as from the date of such a supersession, vacate their offices. So all the members which were of the appointments, members of the board basically, shall vacate their offices as such. Then all the powers of any functions exercised and discharged by or on behalf of the board shall be exercised by such a person as the CG may direct. Now it will be exercised by such a person as the CG may direct. All the powers basically of the powers and the functions of the duties. Wait a second. What they have given is that all the power, function and the duties exercised or discharged by or on behalf of the board shall be exercised by such a person. So now the earlier persons have been what we can say vacated their offices. So now the new persons appointed will discharge their functions, they will exercise the powers, they will discharge their duties, okay. And all the properties owned and controlled by the board shall, until the board is reconstituted, waste in the CG. See, now all the property which was owned and controlled by the board shall be until the board is reconstituted. Until the board board is reconstituted. Until the board is reconstituted, it will be vested with the CG. So we have to remember this 3 point, that all the members will vacate their offices. Then all the powers, function and duty will be discharged by or on behalf of any board shall be discharged by any of the person appointed by the CG. And all the powers, all the properties owned and controlled by the board shall, until the board is reconstituted, will vest in the CG. Then over here they are given is section 18, returns and report, furnishing of any returns and the report by the board to the CG. So see, board have to basically furnish the returns, periodical returns, reports to the CG, reports of the previous year by the of the previous financial year by the board. The board also have to submit the reports of the previous financial year to the report of previous financial year by the board to the CG, means they have to submit to the CG, they have to furnish the returns, reports, then reports of the previous year of the board by the board, then reports to be presented before the parliament, that reports shall be presented before parliament. Then appeal, section 19, appeal to CG, appeal shall be filed basically to the CG, no appeal after the expiry of the limitations, and appeal shall be made in the prescribed form with a copy of an order. So if there is any appeal to be filed, appeal will be filed to the CG, then no appeal after the expiry of the limitations, and what we can say, appeal shall be made in the prescribed form with a copy of an order. So appeal will be made with in the prescribed form with a copy of an order. Bar of jurisdiction, section 20. No order passed by the board or AO under this section shall be appealable except as provided in section 15T or section 20. So what they have given is no order is appealable except provided in 15T. 15T is that appeal to set, or section 20. Then no civil court shall have the jurisdiction in respect of any matter which the board or the AO is empowered by or under these act to pass any order. So no civil court have the jurisdiction in respect of any of the matter. No order passed by the board shall be appealable except provided in 15T and section 20. Then civil court will not have any jurisdiction. And C point is no injunction shall be granted by any of the court or any of the authority in respect of any action in pursuant of any of the order passed by the board. So no injunction will be granted, no injunction, no what we can say, injunction will be granted by any of the court or the authority in respect of any of the action taken in pursuant of any order passed by the board or the board or AO by or under these act. So basically any other court cannot override the decision of the board or the AO. So that's what they are given is no injunction shall be granted by any of the court or any other authority. So any other court or any other authority shall not interfere basically in respect of any of the action taken in pursuant of the taken in pursuant of any of the order passed by the board or the AO. Then member, officer and employee of the board to be the public servant. The same in set also they are given that they will be in the what we can say, the public servant, to be the public servant. And over here also all the members of the board shall be deemed to be the public servant within the meaning of section 21 of the IPC. Then protection of action taken in good faith, section 23. No suits, proceedings or the legal proceedings shall lie against any. So any suits, any proceeding or any legal proceeding will not lie against the central government board or officer, central government board or officer or any officer. See what they are given is the central no suits or the proceedings or the legal proceedings shall lie against the central government board, officer of the central government. So it will not lie against central government board, officer of central government, member, officer or other employee of the board. So central government board, officer or employee of the central government, officer, member or any of the employee of the board. Offence is section 24. Without prejudice to any of the award of any penalty by the AO, if any of the person contravenes or attempt to contravene, he shall be punishable with an imprisonment for a term which may extend to 10 years or with a fine which may extend to 25 crore or with both. So if any person without any prejudice to any of the award or the penalty, if any of the person contravenes or attempt to contravene, he will be punishable with an imprisonment for a term which may extend to 10 years. So imprisonment, so just basically remember, if in case of any offences, a person will be liable, punishable for an imprisonment for a period extended to 10 years or with a fine which may extend to 25 crore or both. And if a person fails to pay any penalty, and now if the penalty has been levied, if any penalty has been levied, and if that person contravenes to pay, fails to pay the penalty or fails to comply with any of the direction or the order, punishable with an imprisonment which may extend, which shall not be less than 1 month but which may extend to 10 years or with a fine which may extend to 25 crore rupees or both. So if you will notice in point A and B, what is the differences? In point A they have given that without prejudice to any of the award of any penalty, if any person contravenes to attempt or contravenes, if any person basically contravenes any provision, so he will be liable to imprisonment up to 10 years and 25 crore or fine up to 25 crore or both. And if he fails to pay any penalty or comply with any directions, so if over here he is not complying with the directions or the order, over in above he is contravening some provisions, and over here not complying with the direction or not complying with not paying the penalty, then he will be punishable for an imprisonment for a term not less than 1 month, but which may extend to 10 crore or with a imprisonment of 25 crore rupees or both. Composition of the certain offences. Composition, basically any offence is punishable under these act, not being an offence is punishable with an imprisonment only or with imprisonment and also with a fine, be compounded by the set or the court before which such proceedings are pending. So if any of the in any of the case, if the punishment basically is imprisonment only, and imprisonment and fine, it will not be compounded any other like imprisonment or fine or only fine or imprisonment or fine or both will be basically that can be compounded. This is given in section 24a. Then power to grant immunity, this is also important section. That is if a person wants an immunity, then he should disclose through and full disclosure. CG, if the CG is satisfied that any of the person who is alleged to have violated any of the provision of these act made thereunder has made a full and if any of the person has violated any of the provision, has made full and the true disclosure in respect of any alleged violation, no prosecution or the penalty, immunity can be granted. So if person has made the full and true disclosure, second point, no prosecution and the penalty, immunity can be granted from the prosecution. So immunity will be basically for the prosecution and the imposition of any penalty under these act with respect to any alleged violation pending proceeding. No such immunity shall be granted by the CG in case where the proceedings for prosecutions proceedings for the prosecution. So if the prosecution has initiated, then no immunity will be granted. No such immunity shall be granted by the CG in case where the proceedings for the prosecution for any of the offences have been instituted before the date of such a receipt of an application for the grant of such an immunity. What they are given is that in case where the proceedings for the prosecution of such an offences have been instituted before the date of such a receipt of application for the grant of immunity. So before the grant of immunity, if the prosecution has been initiated, then no immunity will be granted. And withdrawal of immunity granted shall be withdrawn by the CG if it is satisfied that the person had not complied with the condition, if the person has not complied with the condition on which an immunity was granted. So on the basis on which immunity has been granted, he has not complied with the condition or has given false evidence, then cognizance of any offences by the court, section 26, no court shall take cognizance of any of the offences punishable under these act. So no court will take cognizance unless what we can say, unless specified by the board. Wait a second. No cognizance will be taken. And now we are on the last page of the SEBI. Establishment of the special court, CG for the purpose, section 26a, establishment of the special court. CG may, for the purpose of providing the speedy trial of any offences under these act by the notification, establish or designate any special court as it may think necessary. So for the now this section is for special court. So for CG may, what the CG can do, can establish for the speedy disposal of any trial and of any offences under these act by the notification, establish or designate as many special court as necessary. Then composition, it shall consist of the single judge who shall be appointed by the CG with the concurrence of the Chief Justice of High Court, within whose jurisdiction the judge to be appointed is working. So the constitution will be single judge who shall be appointed by the CG with the concurrence of the Chief Justice of High Court, single judge who shall be appointed by the CG. So that judge will be basically appointed by the CG with the concurrence of the Chief Justice of High Court, within whose jurisdiction judge to be appointed is working. Then qualification of an appointment, any person who has been qualified for the appointment of as a judge of the special court, unless he immediately before such an appointment holding office of any session judge or additional session judge, as the case may be. So no person shall qualify for the appointment as a judge of the special court immediately before that appointment. So for being a judge of the special court, that person has to be holding the office of the session judge or additional session judge. Basically, it is basically much simple. For holding the office judge as a special court, he has to be judge of the session judge, holding the office as a session judge or additional session judge, as the case may be. So this 3 point you have got, that for this speedy disposal of the trial, CG can what you can say, establish or designate a special court, as many special court as necessary. Then single composition is one single judge who shall be appointed by the CG. That judge will also be appointed by the CG with the concurrence of the Chief Justice of High Court, within whose jurisdiction judge to be appointed is working, and should that person should be qualified. That is, he should be holding a position office of the immediately before such an appointment, holding an office of the session judge or additional session judge. An appeal and revision, section 26C. Section 26C, High Court may exercise all the powers as if a special court within a local limit of the jurisdiction of an High Court. So all the powers, that is, High Court may exercise all the powers as if the special court within the local limit of the jurisdiction of the High Court. So as that of the High Court, he will exercise the power. That is, High Court may exercise all the powers as if a special court within a local limit of jurisdiction of the High Court. Then basically High Court's power High Court will enjoy exercise. Then transition provision. Any offences committed under these act shall be trailable. Any offences committed under these act which is trailable by the special court shall, until a special court is established, be taken cognizance and tried of by the court of the session. So before so until the special court has been established, the what we can say, the offences can be trailable. The offences are tried by the court of session. Okay. Then section 27, offences by the companies. Where any offences under these act has been committed by the company, every person who at the time of an offences who at the time offence was committed was in charge of and was responsible to the company for the conduct of any business, as well as the company shall be deemed to be guilty of an offence and shall be liable to be proceeded against and be punished accordingly. Exemption: if a person proves that the offences has been committed without his knowledge, or that he has exercised all his that offence has been committed without his knowledge, or he has exercised his due diligence to prevent the commission of such an offences, then the person will not be liable. Basically, that he has exercised all his due diligence to prevent such commission of an offences. Recovery of the amount. This is also an important answer. Important section from exam point of view. Recovery officer shall proceed to recover from the following modes: attach and the sale. They can attachment and the sale of any person's movable property, attachment of any person's bank account, attachment and the sale of any person's immovable property. So see, they are given attachment and the sale of the person's movable property. C point, attachment and the sale of the person's immovable property. They can attachment of any person's bank account. Attach. Fourth point, arrest of a person and his detention in prison. So they can arrest the person, arrest of a person and his detention in prison. They can detain in the prison as well. And appointing a receiver for management of a person's movable and immovable property. So the movable and immovable property which they have seized, basically not seized, they have attached. So for the management of that, they will appoint a receiver for the management of any person's movable and immovable property. Then section 29, power to make the rules. CG may by notification make the rules for the purpose of these act. Such a rules may provide for all. They can make rules for the purpose of these act. Then such a rules may provide for all or any of the following matters. So they should provide for the following matters. Basically, first, A, terms of the office and other condition of any service of any chairman or the member. First is term of the office and other terms of service of the chairman and the member. Additional function as may be performed by the board. So terms of the office, and then it should specify, then it should make the rules in relation to additional functions, accounts of the board's terms of office, additional functions of the board, then terms of the accounts of the board, salary and the allowances and other terms and condition of any services, then procedure for the investigation of the misbehavior or incapacity, then form in which the appeal may be filed before this set under section 15T and peaceable form and the manner in which the return and the reports to be made to the CG in all this relation, basically the terms of the office in all sections, basically these all are sections which are governed. So in relation to this, the CG will make the rules, basically not CG, yeah, CG by notification make rules for this purpose. Such a rules provide for terms of office, additional function, salary and allowances, accounts and records. Then what they have given is form and manner in which such report to be made to the made to the CG. Then form of in which an appeal to be filed before set. Then the procedure for the investigation, which we have seen in section 11C, investigation of misbehavior or incapacity. Okay, in all this relation they will make rules. Then rules and regulations to be laid before parliament, section 31. And now this all section are not much relevant, section from 31 to 34a, but then too we will just read once that rules and regulation to be laid before the parliament. Every rules and regulation made shall be laid before each house of the parliament while it is in session for a total period of 30 days. So it is laid for the period of 30 days, which may be comprised in one session or in two or more of the successive session. So it should be basically for a total period of 30 days, shall be laid for the total period of 30 days, either in one session or two or more of the successive session. And if before the expiry of the session, immediately following the sessions or successive sessions aforesaid, the rules or the regulations shall thereafter have effect only if such a modified form or to be of no effect, as the case may be. Okay, so just remember it is laid before for a total period of 30 days, and it shall comprise of one session or two or more of the successive session. Okay, then application of the other laws not barred, section barred, section 32. Provision of these act shall be provisions of these act, that is SEBI Act 1992, shall be in addition to any not derogation of or provisions of any other law for the time being in force. So these provisions of the SEBI are in addition to the other provisions of the another acts. Then power to remove difficulties, power, that is CG may by an order published in the official gazette, CG have the power to remove any difficulties. No order shall be made after the expiry of the 5 year from the commencement of these act. So CG shall have the power, and no order shall be made after the expiry of the 5 year from the commencement of these act. And last section, validation of certain act, section 34a, validation of certain acts, basically any act or the thing done or purporting to have been done under the principal act in respect of calling for info from calling for info or furnishing info to other securities, to see what they are given is calling info to other authorities, whether in India or outside India, having functions similar to those of the board, and in respect of the settlement of an administrative and civil proceedings, or for the purpose shall be deemed to be valid. Validation of certain acts. This is not much important. Wait a second. Is the penalty also, some certain important penalties, such as section 15F, as you can see on the screen, that if any person who is registered as a stock broker under these act fails to issue any contract note in the form and the manner specified by the stock exchange of which such broker is a member, he shall be liable to a penalty which shall not be less than 1 lakh, but which may extend it to, for which, okay, over here the penalty is not less than 1 lakh, but this is amended, basically and it is now 1 crore, 1 lakh to 1 crore, the A point, contract note 1. Then B point, fails to deliver, I am recording this for November 20 exam, that is it is entirely amended, and we will see the amendment also after this penalties discussion. Fails to deliver any security or fails to make any payment of any amount due to the investor in a manner which within the period specified in the regulation, he shall be liable which shall be not less than 1 lakh, but which may extend to 1 lakh rupees for each day during which the sponsor or carrying carries on any of the collective investment scheme, including any mutual fund, subjected to the maximum of 1 crore. Okay, so 1 lakh subjected to 1 lakh rupees per day, maximum of 1 crore. Charges an amount of any brokerage which is in excess of any brokerage specified in the regulation. He shall be liable to a penalty which shall not be less than 1 lakh, but which may extend to 5 times. So it is not less than 1 lakh, but which may extend to 5 times of the amount of any brokerage charged in excess of the specified brokerage, whichever is higher. So 1 lakh which may extend to 25 or 3 times, or but which may extend to 5 times of the amount of any brokerage charged in excess of any specified brokerage, whichever is higher. Okay. Either 1 lakh, not less than 1 lakh, or 5 times of the excess brokerage charged into 5 times, whichever is higher. Then section 15G, that is if a penalty for the insider trading, if any person who either on his own or behalf of any of the person deals in any of the security or a body corporate listed on any of the stock exchange on the basis of any of the unpublished price sensitive information, or communicates, so basically who either on his behalf of this much deals or communicates such unpublished price sensitive information to any person with or without request for such information, except as required in ordinary course of any business under this act or the law, or counsel or procures any other person to deal in any of the security or in body corporate on the basis of any unpublished price sensitive information, shall be liable to a penalty, and it will be liable to a penalty of not less than 10 lakh rupees, but which may extend to 25 crores, or 3 times of any amount of any profit made. So not less than 10 lakh, but which may extend to 25 crore or 3 times of any amount of any profit made out of the insider trading, whichever is higher. Okay, now common penalties: fine up to 1 lakh or 1 lakh rupees per day, subjected to maximum of 1 crore, whichever is less. Now the defaults basically are failure to maintain the records or fines, failure to maintain the records or file return or furnish information, then failure to redress investor grievances. So failure to maintain the records or file the returns or to furnish information, then failure to redress investor grievances, then default by the mutual fund, asset reconstruction company, asset management company, collective investment scheme, failure to enter into any contracts in a specified format. So if these are the default, that maintaining records, failure to redress the grievances, failure to enter into contract in a specified format, or default by the mutual fund, asset management company, or collective investment scheme, so the fine will be not less than 1 lakh, but which may extend to 1 lakh rupees per day, subjected to maximum of 1 crore, and fine up to 25 crore or 3 times of any amount of any profit, whichever is more. This is basically for the fine will be up to 25 crore or 3 times of any amount of profit. For penalty for insider trading, then failure to comply with any requirement of any takeover code, or adopting fraudulent or manipulative practices. So the fine will be up to 25 crore or 3 times of any amount of any profit made, whichever is more. Okay, so now we'll just see the amendments as well. In this SEBI 1992, the amendments are basically in section 15 only, that is all 15, that is not all, that is 15C, 15F, 50 there is a new insertion of 15HAA as well in these act, in Act SEBI Act 1992. Okay, so we'll see what is the amendment in 15C. Basically 15C is penalty for the failure to redress the grievances if any of the listed company or any of the person who is registered as an intermediary, after having been called upon by the board in writing, including by any of the means of any electronic communication. So the amendment is they can call in writing, the board can either call in writing, including by any of the means of electronic communication. Penalty will remain the same. So it is basically, the amendment is in the calling process. It can be including any means of any electronic communication to address the grievances of any investor. See, what they again, if any listed company or the person who is registered as an intermediary after having being called upon by the board in writing, including by any of the electronic mean, to redress the grievance of any investor, fail to redress. So after being called, if they fail to redress the grievances within the time specified by the board, such a company or the intermediary shall be liable to a penalty which shall not be less than 1 lakh rupees, but which may extend to 1 lakh rupees for each day during which the failure continues, subjected to maximum of 1 crore. Okay, now what is the amendment in 15H? As I said while discussion of section only, that it is 1 lakh but which may extend to 1 crore. So over here the 1 crore in penalty amount there has been an amendment. That is I will just read the A part, then B and C is the same as earlier. If any company who is registered as a stock broker under these act fails to issue the contract note in any form or the manner specified, actually what I think I should wait a second. What difficulty you might face is it is very small written, that font are small. I cannot switch it into landscape as well because I am recording in portrait mode. So either you would be also having the amendment with you, or you can listen what I am saying, or if you view with a higher resolution you can clearly see the wordings even if it is written in very small. Okay, so fails to in 15H I am reading. A, fails to issue any contract note in the form and the manner specified by the stock exchange of which such broker is a member, he shall be liable to a penalty which shall not be less than 1 lakh. So what it is given, that which shall not be less than, penalty shall not be less than 1 lakh, but which may extend to 1 crore for which the contract note was required to be 1 crore for which the contract note was required to be issued by required to be issued by that brokerage. Okay, now what I will do is I'm not continuing with 15HAA in this video. I will make another separate video just for 15HAA. So I am stopping it over here. So we are covered with the amendments as well for November 2020 examination. Thank you for watching the video.